This is David Harold with the Broward Rare Fruit and Vegetable Council, and I'm following up on my Morbloom results. It's about 5 weeks since I started the initial test, and I wanted to focus on where it did work. It did work on this jackfruit, and you can see that I have a couple of flowers. There's a dead one there. Maybe it's been 6 weeks. Lose track of time, but there's a nice, healthy, big, I'm trying to get an angle on it, jackfruit on this tree that was not there before I started the Morbloom test, which is good. It worked on this tree, which is one of my jackfruit, poppy. It worked on my soursop because I have a lot more flowers on it than I did initially, so I'm gonna claim that as a success. Just panning around here looking for some flowers, difficult to find. But I did have more flowers on it. I might be giving it a little too much fertilizer. You can see there's some burning going on here. It's a downside to the fertilization. It's hard to know when to put too much or not enough, and so. But it did work there, so it did get some more flowers on that. It did work on my green sapote, fairly though. I mean, I just got a few flowers on it, but I had absolutely nothing on it for the longest time. You can see that there's some flowers here on this green sapote. It's supposed to be a great tasting fruit. Never tasted it, and again, I might have used a little too much. I had some leaf burning, but you can see a lot of new growth on here too, because I did do it with worm castings as well. It did also work on some mangoes. As you can see, I have some new flowers up there. This is a Namdok Mai. This is a Pickering, and I hit it a couple weeks ago. You can see I have a lot of new mangoes out there, some flowers still over there, and a rosy gold. And again, you could see I have a lot of mangoes on here, and I did have some flowering after I hit it. Can't find one. There we go. There's some new mangoes that started. So it did work in some limited capacity, but I'll take it. It worked on some smaller canistels I have. So here's one of the smaller canistels I have, and you can see, even for a small tree, even though it's grafted, I got some nice flowers on it. You got some flowers over there as well. So that's nice. It worked out well here. Worked on this sapodilla. You can see I have a lot of new flowers on this sapodilla here. Zoom in a little bit. Tons of flowers. This is the Cialis woods. This is a real nice prolific bearing tree. Nice small. Here you can see I got some fruit and a lot of flowers on here. It worked on this small canistel as well. As you can see, I have some. It's a really small tree, and yet I have some flowers on it, so I'll have to cut those off. It worked on this raw sapote as well. I had some flowers on it, but you can see I have a lot of flowers on there now on this raw sapote, so that was a big success. It worked on this black sapote as well. There's a flower right there. There's black sapote. Kind of getting closer to it. I have a few more here somewhere, or had. With the wind, we've had a lot of wind and a lot of rain lately, so that may have impacted the flowers there. And the Duncan didn't need it. It was already producing nicely, so I didn't hit it. I did hit this this sunrise mango, and it did work as well. I got a good amount of flowers off of it, and you can see some of the fruit over there. Some smaller fruits on here too somewhere, but I did get some flowering when I hit it. There we go. When I hit it with the mixture. It worked for this canistel as well. You can see it's a rather big tree, but I do have plenty of flowers on this tree, which is great. I love canistel, and it's a very hard fruit to come by. So, and it's a very hard fruit even to try to buy. So whatever I don't eat, hopefully can sell. It did work on this little jackfruit. It's even hard to, I kind of planted them in a bad spot in the midst of everything else. But I had a flower on here. There it is. Flower down there on the bottom. It won't produce the fruit, but it still encouraged fruiting, which was the objective. It did encourage flower on this other jackfruit. It's a little bit more substantial in size. I think the flower was, I can't find flower right now, but I did see it on here. So so that was a win, and we'll take it. It had also caused a flower on this jackfruit as well, which is a mature tree, but small. I rescued him from the shade house of the Rare Fruit and Vegetable Council, but you know, he was just a little flower, but it's still a flower nonetheless. It did cause flowering on the Jabotacaba here. I did, there's some flowers there. So you see, whoop, you can see some flowers here as well. I took it easy because this is in a container, as you could see. So I did not want to put too much in it, which is always a, you know, a possibility when you have that. And I did get some flowering on my Abiyu over here, right here. So you can see I have a lot of, oh, maybe you can't see. So you can see I have a lot, right there it is. So you can see I have a lot of flowers on this now. And again, this is one of those trees that produces, you know, probably 10 times as many flowers as it'll need. Here's a good shot of them over here. You can see I have a lot. I have flowers on my cacao, but that's really nothing to write home about. Cacao flowers kind of easily with any kind of fertilizer. There's some flowers right there. And there's a cacao pod, red cacao. It's not red yet because it's immature, but you can see here's a good example of more flowers right there. I did get some flowers on this jackfruit as well. I think it's a black gold, wasn't sure, and got it in the early days. You can see it's a big mature tree. It had produced a few flowers. No fruit yet though. I'm really disappointed. I don't know if he's not getting enough sunlight, if he's too thick, but I'm just disappointed in this tree. With being this big and taking up this much space in the yard, he's gonna have to produce something or he's gonna have to go. I did get a positive result from my passion fruit, but then I've hit anything I've thrown on the passion fruit causes it to flower wildly, so no big deal. No. I did have success with it on this. Is an Excalibur mango. It's supposed to be a good mango, tastes like a dot, from Richard Wilson's nursery. You can see I have several pinnacles up there with no mangoes on them, but I did get a lot of flowering, and I did get mangoes on here, but most of them have dropped off. Thank goodness I have a couple. You can see in the front here, two. I have 2 or 3 on here. I had 3, now I only, oh, there we go. So, you know, hopefully they'll stay so I can taste them. This is a Fairchild mango. I did have mangoes on it initially, as you can see, the bigger ones, but then I wanted to try it, so a couple weeks ago I just kind of hit it, just to see what would happen. Hit it lightly, and you can see I have still flowering going on, and I have little mangoes on it, which is good, so it worked. I was pleasantly surprised to find that it worked on this mango. As you can see, this mango is only about 5 feet, maybe a little bit shorter, but I hit it with the solution. First it burnt it a little bit. I hit it too much so the leaves were dry, but eventually it did shoot a flower. It also worked on this other mango here, this Pink Sangmom. You can see that I have a lot of pinnacles up there where the mangoes fell off, but I still have some which that have a mango on it. And I thought I saw some flowering on here the other day someplace, so it did work. I'm gonna try it again. Oh, there's some smaller mangoes up there, you can see. So I'm gonna try it again because it did work, so see if I could repeat it. And over here, Mame Sapote. I'm happy that this produced flowers as well. I just saw them the other day. Can't seem to find them now, but it did have some flowers on it after I applied the solution, so that did work. Probably most proud of my jackfruit, where I did hit it and it did work. I've had flowers on this for the past couple of years, but this is the first year after I applied the solution. You can see right there I actually have a fruit that took, and I have another one up there, and then maybe some potentials up there, but I definitely have 2, at least in this stage of the game, and that was the difference. I'd always had the flowers, and they were always, you know, small and would turn black and then die, but I never did have anything come of them. This is another mango. It's a dwarf mango. I did get flowers on him with trying the solution, and I did get mangoes on them, but they fell off, so I do have a few that took, but most of them fell off. Did have another jackfruit. I have another jackfruit up here, and I did have flowers on him somewhere in here. Right there's one, and you know, I don't think that'll become a fruit, but you know, I never know. This is my first year for this one. This type of jackfruit's called small. It's a fruit, probably not the tree. Here's my May Americana, and this worked for sure. As you can see, I have some flowers there. That's what the flowers look like. And then again, 2 down below. So, right there. So that worked. On my Fang Tuang starfruit, I did get flowers from it, but I think it was more from the, I did throw the fertilizer on here, but I think it was more from the stress of air layering. So you see, where I air layered, I have significantly more flowers than the rest of the tree. So here I have some air layering in the back, and I have more flowers. So, and then there's another example, and here's one as well. So where I don't have air layers, I don't seem to have flowers, so I'm not going to attribute it to that, but I did do it. I hit the coffee with it, and you can see coffee, very prolific, grows very well down here in South Florida. Likes a little more shade than I have it. I used to have a bigger tree here, and this used to be a little bit more robust, this Japanese raisin, but not so much anymore. This is a Maycock Sapodilla, and it did work on this as well. Some of the flowers have dried up, but I did hit it with a solution, and I did get flowering, so it did do what it was supposed to do. I also hit my Catalina guava with it, and you can see it is just loaded with guava. But again, this, like the passion fruit, these are trees that just want to produce, and trees and plants that just want to produce. So I think anything you put on them would have caused a good bloom and a good crop, but it didn't hurt. This is an Okrong mango. I do have a lot going on here, and a lot of buds still pushing, but I'm not sure if it's going to be growth or flowers. They sure do look like flower pinnacles, but I don't see anything. But it looks different than new growth, so I'm going to say the jury's out on this one, but I'm not sure. Something caused it to happen, but I'm not sure what. And lastly, this is a sugar apple. I hit it with it, and I did definitely get a lot of flowers on it. Not a sugar apple, I'm sorry, it's an Antamoya. The problem with this Antamoya is it's called Priestley, and I guess like most priests, it shouldn't reproduce offspring, and you have to hand pollinate the flowers to get any kind of fruit, which that's a little bit much for me. I try to do it when I can, but I'm not diligent enough to when the flowers are here, so I usually don't get fruit off of this one. But that concludes the successes. Now, next video I'll talk about where it didn't work.